The way that you do breath work could be exacerbating states of stress, tension in the mind and body, cortisol levels. I'm going to share a lot of information in this video that you probably haven't heard about breath work and how it relates to the nervous system, or maybe you have, but I guarantee there's going to be something new to learn here for most of you. Here's the thing. Everyone and their mom is doing breath work these days. And it's great. It's fantastic. Breath work is amazing. It's a powerful way to shift your nervous system, your mind, physiological effects on the body. It's a really easy way to get high naturally and to feel good and to feel in the flow. But the way you go about it can be locking in tension and a sympathetic dominant nervous system state into your body throughout the day. So listen up. If you like the content, make sure you subscribe to support the channel and grab my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description. Here's the thing, guys. I've been doing breath work my whole life. Literally. Of course, we're all breathers. What can I say? But when I was 13 years old, maybe I was even 12, maybe I was younger than that, I was sitting at the back of class one day. It was like math class or something. And the thought comes into my mind, what if I just like breathe as deeply as I can really fast? Just like, and so I'm doing that for like 5 minutes and I start to feel high. I start to feel really high. And I knew what being high was because I had gone to the dentist and gotten laughing gas, nitrous oxide. They were getting me high at 6 years old, baby. Those were the days. So I had a reference point. So in my mind, I'm breathing deeply. I'm doing basically like a pranayama practice. And I'm like, holy shit, this is getting me high. And I was telling my friends this and I would get real silly. You know, I'd be like, woo. And so they would encourage me to like, oh, yeah, do the thing, get all high. So I almost became this like, novelty to the kids around me. Little Johnny's getting high in the back of class. And I also discovered if I did, a series of intense breathing and then took a deep breath and held it and went from a sitting to a standing position, I would get really high and sometimes almost pass out. Later on, when I was 19 years old in 2009, I was on the internet looking up yogic breathing practices, pranayama. In 2013, I learned a practice very similar to holotropic breathing, which I now call transformational breathwork, which is intense, very forceful breathing that puts you in a psychedelic-like state. It's very, very powerful. And I've studied all kinds of, pranayama techniques, Taoist breathing methods, Qigong breathing methods, all kinds of things. I've been around the block when it comes to breathwork, and I'm not trying to like brag or something. It's just like, I've been doing it my whole life. And in the past few years, I've become very aware of something that I haven't seen many other people talk about, and that is having a very different approach to breath work when it comes to balancing the nervous system for the goal of feeling at ease, feeling balanced, feeling good, feeling chilled out, not just feeling like stuck in your head, stuck in worry, self-doubt, anxiety, tension. These are common things for a lot of us. And it really comes down into not just the specific breathing practices that you're doing, how you're breathing, but the approach to it, the principle of it. And it comes down to basically controlling versus allowing. And that may seem like, oh, of course, but we'll break it down. Here's the thing. Everyone's stressed out. Everyone is stressed the fuck out. To be alive on planet Earth in 2024 is usually to have stress, and it's okay. It's all right. There's nothing wrong with you. Why is everyone so stressed out? There's many factors. I think that just the amount of information we're processing on a day-to-day basis is a large part of it. Since the introduction of smartphones, of social media, all of a sudden your world went from being just your immediate environment, your friends, your neighborhood, whatever was in front of you, to being the entire world and other people's minds, other people you don't know, their fears, their concerns, etc. So there's so much more to process. Everything moves a lot faster, and our nervous systems were not designed for this. They were not designed to handle the amount of stimulation that is put through our body on just an hourly basis, a minute-to-minute basis, let alone throughout our lives. So in a nutshell, that's why people are so stressed out. And the thing here is that there's this dominance of the tension stress response in the body, the sympathetic nervous system. And this is talked about in a lot of people who teach breathwork. Wim Hof comes to mind, probably one of the most well-known breathwork teachers. So there's a lot of talk about the nervous system, the sympathetic versus parasympathetic. And of course, we want to learn to be able to gracefully shift between being in the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, and being in the parasympathetic, the calm, rest and digest state. Because the more time we can spend in the parasympathetic nervous system, the better for our health and our happiness. That's the only time when our cells can properly repair themselves, when our body can properly regulate its functions, our digestion's better, hormones are released, That happens when you're functioning in the parasympathetic nervous system. So when you are primarily in the sympathetic, the body is essentially saying there's a fucking tiger about to kill you. Like, we don't have time to digest food. We don't have time to have sexual drive and healthy hormone levels. We got to pump cortisol so you can run and get the fuck out of here. So this system has been hijacked to where we're functioning in it almost pretty much primarily. Most people barely even get out of that sympathetic nervous system activation. And it's not black or white, like either you're in the sympathetic or in the parasympathetic. There's a combination of both. But it's about which one are you primarily functioning in, and are you able to move between them with balance. And my view on health, we can talk about diet, we can talk about exercise, we can talk about all kinds of things, supplements, blah, blah, blah. And all of these things are important. I discuss these a lot in the videos. But the biggest impact on your health comes from whether you are living in a stress state or at ease in a parasympathetically dominant state. That is the biggest indication of health. So it's the most important thing to focus on. So the specific practice of breathwork that I'm talking about here, basically, I mentioned controlling versus allowing when it comes to the breathing. And there's a couple of Qigong teachers who really helped me understand this approach. And I don't see a lot of other people teaching in this way. Bruce Francis and Damo Mitchell, to thank them, which is finding a sense of ease in the breathing, finding a sense of effortlessness. And a lot of people talk about this, like, yeah, it should be natural, it should be blah, 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 should be relaxing, blah, blah, blah. But what does that really mean? And here's the thing. When you're doing something with strong intention, like, okay, I got to do this thing, I got to make this happen. There's force. You're making the breathing happening. Like, okay, it's force. And it's great. It's fantastic. You get results, certain results with that practice. But what it's very difficult to get is true relaxation, true letting go, because the contrivance of the mind, and this becomes very, very subtle. This may not be something that a lot of you understand right away, because we're so programmed into just kind of forcing our ways through life. Being in the parasympathetic is all about letting go. You cannot get there by trying to force your way into it. So if you're forcing your breathing, even if it's like, you're doing slow, deep belly breathing, even that with a degree of this strong intent, this strong force behind it, can stress you out. And it may seem paradoxical, because like, well, Jonathan, you're always teaching deep belly breathing. So this is more of an advanced teaching, we could say. But it's very important, because if you understand this, you can really start to learn how to regulate your nervous system. And I'm going to share a little practice at the end of this video to give you something to take away from this, where you can do it. So, even just the word breath work, that implies work, force, action. We're fucking making it happen. And so that implies tension. And again, you cannot get to relaxation from a space of tension. So if your goal is to be parasympathetically dominant, and in no way am I trying to talk down on these breathwork practices that are more forceful. I do a lot of them myself. I teach many of them. There's many, many benefits to them. But when it comes to truly releasing stress and putting yourself into a deep state of calm, grounded, parasympathetic dominance, there's one method that I've learned which excels at this above all else. And it's not from breath control. It's about approaching the breath almost as a meditation, using the breath to surrender, using it to release, to let go. And of course, you might be saying, well, yeah, that's what the exhale is. The exhale is the letting go. Yeah, but if you're not really letting go. You're tensing to make that happen. I started to notice this pattern in my own practice. I do Qigong, I do yoga, I do breathwork, I do this stuff every day, hours a day. And I started to notice, once I started being aware of this contrivance, this forcing things to happen, it's what it really is the mind. It's the yi. Yi in Chinese medicine or Taoist practice corresponds to the will, to your intent. Also corresponds to the earth element and the mind. And this is something that's often understood, because you may get instructions in internal practice, like, hold the yi at the lower dantian. And most people translate that as okay, focus on the lower dantian, focus on the lower dantian. But focusing on the lower dantian by okay, there's distractions in my mind. I gotta really put my mind in there. No, put it in there. This is how a lot of people are engaging their minds, because the stress response, the stress and tension pathway is so strong that everything is force. Everything is making this happen, making that happen. And this permeates every aspect of our being. It's because we're so conditioned into it. This goes very deep. So I was starting to notice in my own practice, because I was studying in a couple of systems which were based on effortlessness, not trying to control, not trying to contrive, but it's a slight intentionality, like a general awareness of that area of the body, but not like holding the mind there tensefully. And the first step into this is to be able to get into a state of deep relaxation. So it's a letting go and then allowing. So for example, if you're like projecting chi from the hands, the most common thing is like exhale and fucking blow chi out the hands. And I do that a lot. It's fine. But what's more subtle is relax, get the mind into a still state, absorb the mind into the hand. It's like liquid filling a sponge, just pump. And then use like 5% of that feeling of like projecting something out your hand. It's just like a suggestion internally. Don't overfocus on it, just allow it to be. So that was a very subtle practice. Maybe some of you won't understand it, won't feel it. Just giving an example of how this works. And ultimately, my hand's fucking lit up right now. Ultimately, with this type of approach to things, you will get more internal results. For example, when it comes to chi engagement, you're going to get way more chi engagement in general with that type of principle in your practice than you will just forcing things around. So the best thing I think for you to understand this better, because maybe this is very abstract right now, like, okay, I'm supposed to just relax and like what am I supposed to do? I want to share a practice with you right now. We'll do it fairly short, just to show you exactly what I mean, okay? So I'm just gonna guide you through this. Let's do it. Maybe you wanna pause, come back to this later, but by doing this, you will experience what I'm talking about, and that's the only thing that matters, is experiencing it. We can talk about this stuff all day, but without a practice, it doesn't mean jack shit. So just sit. You could do this laying down, whatever, comfortable position. And the first step is just to release tension from the body from head to toe. So bring the mind to the crown of the head and just like let go. It's like ice melting into liquid, that kind of mental engagement. Release the crown, release the face, the back of the head, the sides of the head, temples, release the jaw, the eyes, big areas of tension, release the neck, the throat, let the shoulders melt. Release down the arms, through the forearms, through the wrists, through the hands. Releasing the chest, the shoulder blade area. Let the shoulder blades be heavy and melt down the back. Release down the sides of the body. Release the diaphragm. Release the belly, the lower back. Release the pelvic floor area, the pelvis, the hips, the thighs, the knees, melting the calves, ankles, and feet melt into the earth. So now we've arrived in a more relaxed state. There may still be some tension, but that's okay. We just scan for the superficial tension and release it. And now be aware of the breath. Just the tendency will be to automatically start controlling your breath, which means you have a strong pattern of over-controlling, essentially. Just observe it. What does the air feel like coming in and out of your nostrils? Notice that, observe that. Do not try to control the breath. Just observe it. Observe the sensations of the air moving through the nose, maybe tickling the nose hairs a little bit. Just notice, what does that feel like? Notice what the inhale feels like. Notice what the exhale feels like. Nothing else matters right now. And then notice what's moving in your chest. The tissues are expanding and contracting very subtly. You feel the side of the ribs expanding, just wherever you feel movement in the chest region, the upper torso. Just feel. So your mind is just completely paying attention to the subtle movement of tissues in the body. It's like massaging your mind to let go more and more, relax more and more. And now, allow your awareness to absorb into your belly, your lower abdomen. Ideally breathing in and out of the nostrils. I should have mentioned that, but just however you're breathing. Relax more and more into the belly. Let everything sink down into the belly like it's a heavy bag of water. And just observe the breath here, not controlling it, allowing it to be. Doesn't matter if it feels shallow, just observing the breath. And feel what moves in your belly as you breathe. Feel the expansion, feel the contraction of tissues. That is 100% of your focus right now. Nothing else matters. Just feeling what's happening as you breathe. And now as you continue to exhale, well, as you continue to breathe, let the inhale be natural. Don't worry about how deep or not deep it is. With every exhale, let go. It's like your body's melting. It's made out of ice and it's melting, melting, melting. How much tension can you release on the exhale? Let go of the mind, let go of the physical tissues. It's both mental and physical release. Just completely let go. And also notice how relaxed can your belly breathe? How relaxed can your belly be on the inhale? And you just melt, let go. You may also feel like your water dissolving into a mist on the exhale. Just let go, let go. Melt more and more with every breath. Your breathing should be actually very quiet. We're not trying to make noise through the throat like ujjayi pranayamic breathing. It should be very quiet. Should be an effortlessness to it, and that may come with time, with practice. And eventually this deep feeling of ease sets in the body and in the mind. You may have a lot of thoughts coming up, that's fine. Just bring the awareness back to the movement of tissues in the body. That is what you focus on. And just let go more and more with every exhale. You can continue with this as long as you want, but I'm going to come back to the video here. Okay, notice how you feel from that. How did that feel? Do you feel calmer or present? Like, oh shit, like that chilled me out, man. And maybe you need to do it for 20, 30 minutes to really get in that calm state. You can do this laying down on the ground. You can do it sitting. It's also good to do when you're walking through a forest, somewhere out in nature where it's peaceful, it's quiet. You don't need to be too focused on your surroundings. And it's this effortlessness. You just allow the breath to happen. You are aware of the body, and you use it almost as a meditation for the mind to massage the mind and to just release, let go, let go. You're not trying to breathe. You're not, none of that at all. There's no controlling whatsoever. So it's actually like the opposite of breath work. It's breath ease, we could say. This is a Taoist breathing method. So this is the type of approach and the type of practice. The more, there's a certain quality that this starts to ingrain into you, which is one of release, of letting go and be like, oh, I don't need to hold on to all this tension. Like, just let go, man. Let go, man. And the more you bring this into, of course, your breathing, you can do this 24/7. I was doing this today. I came out of an intense workout at the gym. Then I had a Taekwondo class wearing full sparring gear, sweating my balls off. I come out of the class and I'm thinking, fuck, like I feel a bit stressed out. It was a busy day as well. I was in kind of a stress state. And I was like, let me practice this, just what I just shared with you. Just sink, first of all, release tension, absorb the mind into the process of breathing, just feeling that, and just releasing more with every exhale. And within 5 minutes, I was feeling much calmer. And then I just like, okay, I need to focus on this. I was at Whole Foods, getting some groceries, and I'm just release, let go. Oh, I'm starting to tense up, let go. Just allow the breath, just aware of the breathing centered in my belly and the ease of it. And I was feeling much more calm, much more just like, yeah, that's more like it. So practice that. Practice it throughout the day. It's really good to take some formal time where you sit down and do it, but you can practice it throughout your day and start to engage with this quality of effortlessness, of release. It will actually make you stronger. It will make you more resilient. It will make you much less likely to be emotionally reactive. That's another thing with that I noticed doing a lot of intense breath work is sometimes I actually became more emotionally reactive. Because here's the thing, I can speak from experience. I have tended to gravitate towards things that stimulate me, that stimulate me. And just in the past few years, I've noticed my tendency to want to, when I'm experiencing, when I'm experiencing stress, anxiety, self-doubt, whatever, there's a tendency to want to cover it up. Like, okay, well, it's like, I'm tired, so I'm just going to drink a cup of coffee. Well, that's just burying your fatigue underneath a wave of cortisol release. Obviously people do this with drugs a lot, but you can also be doing this with practices like breath work, physical exercise, where you're essentially overexerting yourself, kind of forcing your body into a state just to kind of bury something that's hidden beneath that. So it's a little different than allowing the thing to be felt, releasing through it, releasing into it so that it can be, released, processed and released. So I know I'm sharing a lot of more subtle concepts in this video. Maybe you're like, this is fucking bullshit, whatever. I'm just gonna do my Wim Hof breathing. And I'm not talking shit about breath work. This is not my intention with this. I'm not trying to get you to stop doing it. But if you are doing these kinds of practices, if you're doing a lot of intense breath work, a lot of physical exertion, trying to get yourself into a state of balance, but you're like, man, I still feel fucking stressed. I still have a lot of tension. I still have all this pelvic floor tension. You're still sympathetic nervous system dominant, and you're not going to get there by force. It's not going to happen. The more this practice, relaxing, breathing, like lay in a recliner and just the letting go breathing, the yin breathing, the Taoist breathing, is going to be one of the best things that you can do. And then you stand up and you maintain that state of ease, let go. And I know it's not as sexy as, but for your nervous system, it's the only thing I found personally that I can consistently do. Like when I need to do, okay, I need to balance my nervous system. I need to get more parasympathetic. That's it. That's the only thing that really consistently will get me there, is releasing effort, releasing tensions and contrivance, and letting go. I hope you got something out of this video. I hope I didn't just rant on some shit that you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? But I think that this will be very valuable, especially if you really have been suffering from just overactive, unbalanced nervous system. If you want me to make a more in-depth guided practice of this type of breathing, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to do that if enough people are interested in it. And have a great, calm, confident, grounded rest of your day, my friend. Take care.